FlameWolf. Okay. Hello everyone, this is JPL back for another podcast from the Counts Up podcast name in brackets. Okay. And today we have a special guest, which is... say your name, please.
Who, me?
Yes.
Fenrir. That's me.
Fenrir, yes. And
hello everybody, this is Fenrir straight out of my gaming channel. Hey.
This is not an advertisement, okay. We also have... right beside me, we have...
Matthew.
And then on the other call, we have...
FlameWolf.
Yes, FlameWolf. And today's topic of this podcast is the top 5 movies of 2015. Okay, do you want to explain to the audience how we're going to do this?
Okay, so each of us will give our number 5 movie, then and we'll talk a bit about each one. Then we'll give our number 4, 3, 2, 1, and so on.
Okay. And so, okay, since FlameWolf, since you came in really late last time... Oh yeah, by the way, guys, the last podcast was completely botched, and so... sorry about that. Okay, so FlameWolf, if you... since you weren't here the last time, how about you start us out with your number 5?
Should I just go right away and tell my number 5?
Yes.
Alright, I'm having trouble with that. You see, it's easier to pick like the first one, but I don't care. Let me just think about it a little bit. There were a bunch of good movies.
Okay, so how about you think about this and we'll let Fenrir go.
Okay, so granted that I didn't watch each and every one of the movies that came out of 2015, I'm pretty sure I do have a little bit of a solid list. And actually, the one I want to talk about first, as in the 5th position, would be one of the latter, premieres this year. That was the Peanuts movie.
Oh! Did
you watch that one?
No. I wasn't really aware when that thing was gonna come out, so can you pass me the pen, please?
It came out last Christmas.
Oh.
Exactly Christmas Day, like December 25th.
Well, which is why I did not see it, because I was busy with Star Wars, okay.
Oh yeah, of course. Star Wars was a big deal too, but that was actually higher on the list, so that's not the one I'm talking about right now.
Okay, yeah, but we're just in general.
Yeah, that one was higher on the list. Granted that it's probably not one of the movies you'd expect to see in this kind of list, but, being someone that in my early years, I grew up like watching the Peanuts cartoon and stuff like that, I may be a little bit biased because it's like a nostalgic feeling to watching that movie. It wasn't all that great story-wise, but it did ring a lot of bells. I think it was one of the best movies that came out because it made a great job of keeping like the essence of what was the show and putting it into a movie. Honestly, I didn't think that would have been possible, but they did a really great job at it, and I think it's very respectful of the source material. I mean, where it came from and the style of how things were done and transmitted. It was just like the most faithful adaptation you could ever expect. Now, judging by your reaction to that, I'd say that this wasn't the kind of movie you were expecting me to talk about. But, it was good. And if I were forced to pick like another movie for the 5th spot, I would probably go with Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that one was really great too.
Yeah, it was really great, but although my personal favorite of the Mission Impossible series is the 3rd one, but it was still a good one. Okay, Peanuts. I really don't know what to think about that, because I didn't really watch the Peanuts or the Charlie Brown series growing up as a kid. I may have watched 1 or 2 every once in a while, but that was it, so...
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. I mean, I grant you that because, it was something that I personally grew up with, so when I watched that movie, it just rung so many bells.
And seeing that they were going to make the Peanuts movie into a a three-dimensional animation, I actually don't really prefer that.
Yeah, well, I agree that it was a very odd choice. I didn't know what to expect. Like I told you, I didn't think they could possibly make justice to those vintage things that I was very used to and that used to watch a lot and laugh to. But they made an outstanding job. It was real good.
Okay. Um. Okay. FlameWolf, do you have your list yet?
Well, yeah, I thought of a bunch of movies actually.
You still
I
Are you still making it up?
Yeah, I'm actually making it up
Okay.
because I don't. You know, I'm not the kind of person that. I mean, I watch movies all the time. I go to the theater and I kind of watch some other movies on my cell phone or my computer, but I was never
Oh my god.
cinema enthusiast. I mean, yeah, movies are cool, but it's not like I take them as seriously as I take video games, for example.
Do you guys hear
But-
that?
Yeah, we do. Something's barking.
Can we just shoot the dog already?
Never mind, that shouldn't be a problem.
Shut up!
Okay, so as Flame Wolf was saying,
Okay.
Oh yeah. So I was never a guy who, I enjoy movies, but I would say I'm not the biggest movie fan out there. So I will actually go for number 5 on the Heart of the Sea, the one of Moby Dick stuff.
Oh. Well,
Like it was good. There were better movies, that's why it's in 5. But yeah, I will give it. I will put it on 5 because I actually really liked it.
okay.
Or was that 2016? Was that movie?
No,
2000?
it's 2015.
oh, it was 2015.
All right, great.
It's not a movie I didn't see that movie this year. I really, after seeing the trailer, I didn't really want to see it because what it looked like to me, it didn't look like Moby Dick was white, and it just appeared to be the movie based on the aftermath of Moby Dick. What happened really in the movie?
What happened in the movie? No, it's actually the history. Oh. What?
The
No,
true
nothing.
story that Moby Dick is based off of is what
Yeah.
I heard.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not like the aftermath of Moby Dick. It's actually the guy who wrote the book going over to one of the survivors of the catastrophe to ask for his story as an inspiration to write Moby Dick.
Oh. Okay.
It was pretty interesting because you are not told the story of, the sailor who goes out setting for revenge towards the whale, because that's actually what the book is about, but this is the story about the writer searching for inspiration for that book.
Okay.
And actually he runs across these people who were the survivors of the incident, and actually not these people, it's the one guy. He said at the beginning of the movie that he was the sole survivor, but actually there are some others that you get revealed of later. But this guy basically tells the writer his story so that he can find inspiration to write Moby Dick. It's pretty interesting.
Okay. Okay, so I believe, I guess I'll go next? Okay. Okay, so my number 5 of this year, which I really wish there were more good movies this year so that this one wouldn't even make my list, but I can't deny it. The 5th one I have for the 2015 is Jurassic World. I despise this movie, though I also like it because it's really good.
That doesn't make the slightest hint of sense.
I know, but that's the thing. That's what we call my logic, or
Well, actually, I think I know where you're going, JPL.
Mm.
Because Jurassic World also has that slight ring of nostalgia to it. It wasn't great story-wise, but when you compare the effects from the old movies and this one, and you compare all the stuff that was similar and also the stuff that they tried to make different, it was like a charming experience. It wasn't like the best movie of all time, you know what I'm saying, but it was also like when you've been through something really, really good and someone reminds you of it and you smile. I think that was Jurassic World.
I don't know. For me, Jurassic World I think, is a good film on its own. If you just take away the fact that it was in a Jurassic Park universe, and it actually is a good it's a film on its own. But when you put it into the Jurassic World universe, there's you really gotta make sure that you have certain elements to be good, such as most of the stuff in Jurassic Park was actually animatronics, which we didn't really see that much here, which most of it was CGI. I think this movie had too much CGI in it and not enough things to make it look realistic. So that was my main concern about it. Of course, the whole thing is that they did not even touch on the Lost World Jurassic Park or the Jurassic Park 3 at all. They just said things about the first one, which there's a lot of plot points there. And apparently those two is actually canon, and so I'm waiting for them to tell us, like, what's up with that.
Make reference to the events of the other two movies?
Yes.
Well, actually, I think you're right in one aspect. As a standalone movie, it would have been great, but one of the things about the Jurassic World is that it kept reminding you at every time that it was in the Jurassic Park universe. First with the callbacks to John Hammond, and then they actually find the stuff from the old park, and the guy in the watch room that has his Jurassic Park tea. So it's all like they are telling you, screaming at your face that, hey, this is Jurassic Park so many years later, right?
Yeah, I really wish they would not have done that. Like, show us all of these things that happened in the first one, because, honestly, I think it was too much. Although I was really happy when they had the goggles, the night vision goggles, but actually no. I don't know. It's difficult to express emotion about this movie, since I'm sort of biased, and that sort of affects my thing about it. But
well, it was the same with Peanuts, you know.
Yeah. And also the characters of this movie, just you didn't really have a feeling towards them. The two kids, I didn't like them because they weren't actually realistic. They actually know too much than what a normal kid would do, which I really don't think that normal kids would be able to fix the car that's about 15 years old.
Yes, definitely.
With an old battery.
Plus, what everybody complains about, and it's kind of cliche to complain about, but I will complain about it anyways, a girl running from a T-Rex using high heels.
She belongs in the Avengers. That's all I can say. She belongs in the Avengers.
I mean, for a human to run faster than a T-Rex on the first place, it's almost impossible.
I mean, the T-Rex almost caught up with a Jeep. That's the thing.
Yeah, so
yes.
she ran faster than a Jeep wearing high heels.
So that's one of the things I hear the most complaints about. But actually, I think it's one of those things that, it's just great because it's funny. I mean, it's not like it's great, but it's also
bad that it's good.
It's also not something that I like to complain about, because it gives the movie that little spice of charm to it. Because it's like, hey, remember that one movie where this girl outran a T-Rex while wearing high heels? You can just make a joke completely out of that, and that would be awesome.
Okay. Well, that's basically all I have for the first one. Okay, Matthew, your turn.
Okay, so for my number 5, this may be controversial, I don't know. Mockingjay Part 2. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Hunger Games series. Before I went to see this the second time, I actually saw it twice, but before I went to see it the second time, I actually did a marathon of the other ones. And this is my favorite in the series so far besides Catching Fire, and I say so far because they're thinking of making more movies.
Oh my gosh.
But I absolutely loved this movie. It was amazing. It had, the characters that I love, the actors that I love, and all of the things about the Hunger Games, and I feel like it was a worthy wrap-up of the movie series so far.
Well, first of all, I don't think you should be scared of being controversial. If you want to be controversial, you could, bring up 50 Shades of Grey.
Okay.
Well, yeah, but actually, I I again kind of see where you're going, but I didn't think this was like the strongest entrance in the franchise. I honestly think that the series peaked with Catching Fire. I think that was one of the great ones because it had like more Hunger Games and more characters and the plot twist for people who hadn't read the book, of course, because I did, so I wasn't like, oh wow, this happened. But but also it was great seeing it from the perspective of someone who's not reading the books or stuff like that. I think that was the one that packed the most inside of it because one of the maybe it's a nitpick, I don't know, but from Mockingjay Part 1, it was like the whole movie was a whole propaganda thing. We didn't get to see that much, other stuff. It was all like, hey, Katniss, we have to persuade these guys, go stand there and say something. We have to dissuade those guys, go stand there and say something. Go to the river and whistle something, and then everybody will start singing with you. It was a powerful message about how propaganda works, but I don't think that's what I went to the theater to see.
Yeah. My main concern about the second Hunger Games is just like, I really don't like how they're splitting like the last movies into two. Although it does actually make it so they can have more character development, but this last movie, like, there really wasn't any development of character. I mean, there was a lot of characters they introduced, and they just killed them off, and I didn't really feel bad for them because I didn't really know anything about them. Or maybe that's just because I only saw Mockingjay Part 1 one time. I have a DVD with me, I just need to watch it, but that's just my issue. Another thing is, like, most parts of the movie were actually predictable. Like, I didn't even read the book. It's just that the way that the lighting and the music actually they incorporated it into it made almost everything predictable. Like, even to what? Fic?
No spoilers, please.
Why?
Because some of our audience may not have seen it.
Spoiler.
But certain characters' deaths, apparently JPL could see them coming.
Well, like, yeah, you see them coming. It's like, because that one guy, he got married, and so it's a rule that if a guy gets married or gets proposed or has a girlfriend, they have to die in the movie. That's a cliche.
Just one more to the list.
And also just some deaths were just, you thought, because, some characters are gonna die in this movie, but then, you think it's just gonna be a long dramatic scene, but no, boom, they're just dead instantly without any repercussions about it. Okay, let's just go on to this next scene.
That's what I call the Game of Thrones effect. People who watch Game of Thrones or read the books will know a character dies in Game of Thrones, you don't get any time to think about it. They just move on to the next scene. So people have become very desensitized to main character deaths in movies. So instead of making this a big dramatic thing, they just kill off the character and then have maybe a few emotional shots of other characters reacting and then move on.
Yeah, I guess I can see that happening.
Yeah, well, I think that's it for the fifth part of this section. We're gonna end your guys' recording for now, just so that we can make sure that we don't lose the file, and the entire file. So we're gonna.
Okay, so you can actually just stop the recording right here, check if the file is working, and then we keep recording.
Yes, that's what we're doing. Like,
that's a smart idea.
Yeah,
I commend you. Good man.
Okay, Okay, let's go on to number 4, and who wants to start this time?
I do.
Okay, I can start. Oh no, wait. Go ahead, Matthew.
Okay, so I want to start probably because this one will be. I don't know if any of you have seen it yet, but my number 4 is The Hateful Eight. And have any of you seen it first?
No.
Well, I've heard about it. I've been planning to watch it, but I haven't. I've heard it's so good.
Okay, so I'll just give my thoughts briefly on this. I really love Quentin Tarantino. His movies are amazing. And obviously this one is also amazing. I have a few minor complaints. I think the mystery is solved a little too early, and then it just turns into a Tarantino shootout, which is, his shootouts are amazing, but it felt like he rushed the ending in order to get to the shootout. But besides that, I really don't have any complaints. It's amazingly directed. I love the cinematography. The dialogue is amazing, and there's just one scene that's very, very tense, and yet if you listen to the dialogue, it's the opposite of tense, and just the way that Tarantino uses the dialogue to create this tension.
I guess I'm not sure I know exactly what you mean, but I suppose it's like a little bit of misleading, perhaps?
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen it yet, but I want to see it because it's a Quentin Tarantino movie. I've seen a few of his, and they're actually pretty good and enjoyable. Even if it's just having lunch together and a conversation, it's actually a pretty decent thing that for just that scene. It's better than some other lunch scenes, but he actually does really well with just normal conversations, which is why I really like him.
And that's what I was sort of trying to say with the whole tense scene, that the dialogue doesn't necessarily feel like it should be tense, and yet it is.
Yeah, I like the dialogue is like giving an impression that it's not actually there. Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I can't remember any specific lines from that one scene because I was just like, it was just so tense and scary, and you didn't know what was going to happen, and you were rooting for certain characters or not rooting for certain other characters. And with his movies, that's sort of the first time I felt that with, just small talk scenes.
Okay, then yeah, I think I see what you mean. But still, if it's something worth watching, I'll take a while to
It's
just...
definitely worth watching, yes.
Okay. Well, FlameWolf, why don't you tell us what it is?
Alright, I will go for Crimson Peak. Yes.
Ooh.
It was really great. I liked it because it wasn't precisely a terror movie, a horror movie. It did have some pretty freaky parts in it, and like parts where I had to hold on to my seat or shut my ears because I didn't want a jump scare to appear. And the thing is, there is never a single jump scare, but still you always get the atmosphere and the feeling that you are gonna get scared. And it just, the certain scenes are developed so good that you think it's gonna be a jump scare, but it isn't. But something else happens and it also scares you, so you don't know what to expect. And I mean, the story was great. I really liked it. I liked the acting, and yeah, the plot was great. That's what I can say. I really liked the suspense feeling to it.
I have to disagree with that one, but I'll probably talk about it more later, so I'll save all of my disagreements for later.
Okay.
Alright.
Alright, I guess.
For me, it's like Crimson Peak is... Was that a movie that came out this year?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Again, is there just so many movies which I knew that they were gonna make, but I didn't really know they were just gonna come out this year. And so, yeah, Crimson Peak, I don't think I would have watched it because, I don't know, it's just a, okay, let me explain a lot of reasons why I don't want to watch a lot of movies, because if movies have a title which they do not appear to be part of a certain series that I've seen, then I probably wouldn't watch it. And so, which I believe I heard Crimson Peak was what, a cardboard game before? Or was that Silent Hill?
No, that Silent Hill was a video game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Silent Hill was a video game.
Okay. Then yeah, Crimson Peak. It's just one of those things where I have absolutely no idea what this is, and I'm probably not gonna watch it. So that's why I have nothing to it. So.
Oh, oh well, I guess. So, is it my turn yet?
Well, if you wanna say something about Crimson Peak.
If I want to say something about Crimson Peak, I don't think it would have made a spot on my list, but it was certainly something enjoyable to watch. You know, like FlameWolf said, it had a to watch to be very scared and stuff. I don't get scared that easily with, horror movies and stuff, but, I decided to give it a chance just because of that same reason, and I ended up rather enjoying it. It has some, notable plot holes and stuff, but I actually liked, as well as FlameWolf, the fact that you get misled in some scenes where you think you're going to be jump scared or something like that, but you actually don't, and then when you're least expecting it, something freaky happens. That's good. I really liked how that movie pulled that off, but besides that, I think it was enjoyable, but not top 5 material.
Okay. So what's your number 4?
For my number 4, can we talk about Matt Damon getting rescued here?
The Martian?
Does anybody know? Yes, The Martian.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so, hold on,
guys
Fenrir.
watch that one?
That is also my number 4 of the list, so we could just combine ours, and so, yeah. You go first.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's great. So, The Martian, I really liked the premise. It at first, when I saw the trailers, I thought it would be like a Gravity kind of thing. Most people didn't like Gravity that much, but I actually found it to be, very tense and stuff. But that wasn't actually from this year. From this year, we got The Martian, which had a pretty similar premise of being alone and stranded, but actually this guy didn't have any hope to get back by himself. He pretty much had to stay there, try to survive, and hope that he would find some way to make contact, which he thankfully does. But it had that little bit of extra tension over there. Sandra Bullock was also uncommunicated, but that movie wasn't as good. Here in The Martian, we get also a lot of science thingies that, as a average spectator, a lot of people, myself included, wouldn't get half of the stuff that he's doing. But actually, once you do a little bit of research, you actually find out that living for so long in Mars, by applying the science shown in that movie, you can find that it's pretty plausible. I mean, it would also leave no consequences after the guy gets back. I mean, it's amazing. I thought it was a stretch. You know the part when the how is this called? Oh yeah, the greenhouse. You remember that part when the greenhouse decompresses and gets all bursted outside and stuff? You remember that one, right?
Yeah.
One of the things I didn't like was the fact that he could just basically, patch the hole up and then everything was back on track. I was like, what? How doesn't he get nervous that this little thing he's using to patch up the big hole in his hull is going to resist? That didn't look like it should.
It does show a scene where he's curled up and listening to the noises as the whole structure shudders, and he's nervously trying not to get too scared.
Yeah, well, I guess that's pretty natural considering the situation he was in. But actually, that was one of the things I liked the most about The Martian, because it took a premise that we've seen sometimes before, but it did a lot of stuff differently.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt Damon, granted, he had a lot of stuff served for him. I mean, he just so happened to be in a distance that he could just go and take one of the drones so that he could communicate. But also, he had to go through a lot of peril and danger to get to it. So it was like, okay, he has all the stuff he needs, but it's just so hard to pull off that's where most of the tensions come from.
Yeah. The thing I really love about this movie is the scenery. Just for those long shots of him just standing out looking at Mars, I mean that's actually done extremely well. The way they actually made Mars. Let's see. Another thing I really like about it is how, if you know some things about history, about some of the space missions, which like I figured out that he was going to he went out to go and find Pathfinder, because I actually remembered reading about that a while ago about the a failed mission of the of that lost rover, I think.
Yep.
Which I was actually so happy that they actually incorporated something like that into the movie. And the thing about this movie that I just kept thinking is like, a year ago, I saw Interstellar, which was a really good movie, and so I just kept thinking this is basically Dr. Man the movie.
The slightly more positive Dr.
Yes,
Man.
and also we had Murph in it.
Yeah. I'll give my thoughts.
So it's basically Interstellar, the prequel.
Yes. My thoughts on The Martian. It didn't quite make my top 5, mostly because I found on a second viewing a whole lot of the fun of going to the movie was seeing Matt Damon solve the problems. So once you knew how he was going to solve the problems, the movie was a little bit weak. And yet I absolutely love the scenery of Mars. Gravity made me not want to go to space, but The Martian, now I want to go back. I've gotten back to wanting to go to space. And it was a really good movie. I read the book before I saw it, and it's probably one of the best book-to-movie translations I've seen, or most accurate. And, yeah, overall it was very good.
Yeah, I can see that. You know, it definitely made to my top 5 because I had a lot of fun watching it. Granted that I didn't watch it a second time. It was really good, but I didn't watch it a second time, so I can see how knowing how everything gets resolved can take a lot away from the movie, but that doesn't mean that the first time wasn't charming.
Well, yeah. The thing is, I also watched it a second time, but I watched it with my mom and sister who had never watched it, so watching it with someone who hasn't watched it before makes the experience a lot better. So
yeah, my thoughts on it. Well, I also really liked it. I was gonna put it on my top 5, but then I reflected on life and thought I wouldn't. Well, if you compare it to Gravity, everything is good. I disliked Gravity. I found it boring to see the character just fly in space endlessly. And that was it. I could resume Gravity in she's in space. That's it. And well, The Martian, it was really good. I liked some scenes. It was really intense, and I remember face palming and shouting no. Well, not literally, but on my mind when the greenhouse decompresses, and I'm like, if I was that guy, I would have shot myself. I mean, I liked the determination of his character. I liked how they made that character, that he was always in this positive, sarcastic way, and he always spoke telling jokes, and the character itself, he was really positive, and that's what I liked. And he had a lot of determination. He did all this stuff to survive, even when he lost all his progress with the potatoes and everything. He just kept going, and I liked the character. Also, the scene when they extract him, like, it was also really intense when he was finally leaving the planet. That was really good. And as of the scenery, I always pay a lot of attention to scenery because I always imagine myself in the places I see in movies. But it was good. Yeah, it's not like I can say it was super hyper amazing because it was just a desert. But it was really good. It captured the planet.
It's Mars. I don't know what you expected.
Yeah, but But I mean, if you were shown a picture of that scenery, you could only seeing the picture, you could say it's Mars because it was red. But
It's red. It's Mars.
yeah, it was a red desert, so it was Mars. But, I mean, I wouldn't agree with saying it was the most amazing scenery. Like, on the scenery is a highlight of the movie. I don't think so.
Okay. Is that all we have for our number 4?
Yeah, I guess that settles it. I don't think I have much else to say about The Martian, except it was really good. But I already said that. So
Okay. Let me end your guys' recording. Okay. F12. Okay. Let's get to number 3, and I believe I will start this one. Okay.
Okay.
My number 3 of 2015 would be Age of Ultron.
Huh. Yeah, that's a nice pick.
Mainly just because it's they bring back the Avengers, and you have this great cast which they don't really get used much.
Yeah, definitely. They could be. Well, we're going to have a good time in Civil War,
Yeah. I just really wish they would have had more of the Andy Serkis character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see.
Because, they actually showed him, to be a really good character, with him not having a speaking role. Just him holding a gun in this eerie lighting, and it looks like, oh, he's gonna have a prominent role, but nope. He gets his arm chopped off, and there we go. You don't see him again.
Yep, that's that.
Okay, I'll quickly give my thoughts on this. Honestly, this was for me the second or third most forgettable movie of the year, and
Yeah.
it may have been the movie that ruined superhero movies for me, because after Age of Ultron, I'm not really looking forward to any other superhero movies except for maybe Deadpool and Suicide Squad.
What about Doctor Strange?
No, not really even Doctor Strange. Maybe it's just that I'm getting burned out on superhero movies. I will definitely see all of the new superhero movies, but really, Age of Ultron, I mean, it was a good movie, but it was forgettable a little bit, and I don't know, it just didn't quite do it for me.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't a movie that inspired, that a whole lot of awe and thought after. It's a movie you don't speak much after watching it. Actually, I excluded Age of Ultron from my personal list because of that same reason, and also because, well, it's a Marvel movie. You pretty much know what to expect. You know it will be good to watch, it will be a nice experience, but overall it was like the Avengers, the first one, toned down. Because when the first Avengers came out, it was like, oh wow, we've been watching all these franchises, standalone movies, and maybe a hint or two at a connection, but now it's finally happening. So it was this big thing at the time. But now Age of Ultron it was just, well, they are doing it again, and yeah, it's cool, but it didn't have that long-lasting impact the first movie had. So by that point of view, it was, I wouldn't say forgettable, because it did have, at least to me, its memorable moments. And of course it had the cliche now Marvel blend of action and comedy. I really like that about Marvel movies, because they are not afraid of taking a laugh out of you, even if sometimes it's forced.
Yeah.
But, as a experience, I think it was great when you were watching it, but it didn't leave any long-lasting impact on me.
My main concern about the movie was that the movie was the way I feel about it was just overhyped. Like the trailer was they just made it look like it's just gonna be a fantastic, well-written movie. With a bunch of great action scenes, which, yeah, there were a few good action scenes, but not as great as we were to believe. And I think they just gave us too much of the Hulkbuster scene in the trailers.
Yeah, pretty much, because and that was only just a few seconds, may I remind you. But I know where you're going, because it was pretty much it. I mean, if the Hulkbuster armor would have played like a bigger role in defeating Ultron or something like that, that would have been cool. Seeing it come back for like maybe 2 scenes without it getting repetitive, it maybe would have made a good tool to keep the movie on its track. But you know, I'm not saying that it derailed, not at all, but it was still something that they could have used a little bit more to make, you know, each scene seem different and its own thing rather than just the extended scene from the trailer.
And then there's the one like red herring of the movie. Was it red herring? Oh no, it's just the scene that just feels out of place. Thor's vision dream.
It's setting up Ragnarok.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
yes.
the only reason why they have it there, to set up Ragnarok, but it just seems out of place. Like, Thor says, okay, it's gonna be a dangerous mission, you and I, to go this place. He gets naked, goes into a pool, has a dream, and no danger there.
And we didn't get to see any of it. Yeah.
What
yeah,
it are you talking
I
about,
see.
by the way?
What?
If you're talking about Thor getting naked and not being able to see any of it, or if you're talking about something
No.
else.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
Sorry, I just had to point it out for our viewers who were wondering.
Yeah.
Or listeners,
Yeah,
I guess.
thank you very much.
Another thing I don't like about this movie is how they have the whole Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Well, my more complaint is about Quicksilver. It's just because it's not the Quicksilver that we saw in the Days of Future Past, which was, I would dare to say, even better because he was much more comedic. Well, this guy was just out of place. Like they did.
I'm fast. I'm fast.
Yeah, I'm fast. I have a sister. I have a unbelievable accent, and you know, I
Yes.
die for no reason.
Didn't we say we would keep this spoiler free?
Well,
We'll censor it out in the editing and then maybe also put like a spoiler version.
on yours.
Yes,
Okay.
on mine.
Mine, I'm just gonna put this up. It's like I don't.
You don't care if the audience has it spoiled for them.
Okay, I just
Actually, probably for this one, it doesn't matter.
of course like everything.
Yeah, because it was like you said, one of the most overhyped movies in the whole year. So I think everybody pretty much knows by now what happened there.
Yes, and like his death could have been avoided by putting a car in the way or just moving them.
Yes.
Instead of just stand right in front of them and get shot.
It was like one of the most evitable movie deaths this year.
Okay. Well,
So who's next?
How about you go, Fenrir?
Me. Well, honestly, I'm not so sure about the third spot. We're getting to a place where you have to stop giving credit to other great movies and just pick the best. So it's kind of a hard thing to do. But, well, I don't know. I think at spot number 3, I'd put Inside Out.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm the guy with the cartoon movie opinions.
Okay. Honestly,
Did
I
any-
love kids movies. I love kids movies.
Did
I like
any
them
of
better
you
than-
guys watch Inside
I
Out?
did.
How was it?
For me, personally, okay, I do respect it as a very well-made movie. However, I feel it was missing the Pixar magic. If you know the legend of the napkin, which several Pixar creators drew out story ideas, and apparently the napkin had Finding Nemo and I
Toy
think
Story.
The Incredibles, Toy Story,
WALL-E.
and WALL-E. But I feel with Inside Out, the napkin has run out, and we're starting to see that it was, I will say it was a very good movie, but I was underwhelmed because it felt like a Disney movie, not like a Pixar movie.
Really? Well, I guess I see the point. Yeah, it did feel a little bit more like a Disney movie, but I don't think that was much of a big deal because, in the end, it had a lot of stuff. One of the main reasons why I liked this movie so much as to have it in spot number 3, it was because, it had a lot of funny stuff put inside that was like, oh, well, that must be it. Like when these memory guys are absorbing like the orbs to throw away, and they go through the phone numbers, and they're like, "She doesn't need this. They are on her phone." And I'm like, well, "That's so clever." I like about Inside Out that it had a lot of these clever mind jokes inside that were like pretty fun. Although a bit of a nitpick that I have, it's like, how there's this whole studio dedicated to dreams, and they make dreams to be so literal about the stuff that happened in her day. It kept me wondering, if does she ever have dreams of flying or stuff like that? I mean, how does that work? Why do we keep having these dreams? They could have explained that a little bit more, even if it wasn't a central plot point. How they made a lot of references to stuff that happens in the mind, and they gave a comedic value to it. I really respected that because they were very clever at some points, like the point where these facts and opinions get messed up. So it was very funny, like watching every one of those little details unfold. I liked the attention to those kind of details rather than the plot itself, because how I do think that Inside Out was a comeback from Pixar, because I despised planes, I despised the sequel, and the last Pixar movie I respected was A Long Way Back. It felt like A Long Way Back, because then there came Cars 2, and it was a bummer. Then they came up with planes and stuff, and it wasn't good. I honestly thought that we had lost Pixar. But even if this movie, Inside Out, wasn't like the first ones, it was, it was a bit of a comeback. And if they keep it up like this, like they made with The Good Dinosaur and Inside Out, those two were really great Pixar movies from this year. And I think they are making quite a good comeback.
Okay, my thing about Inside Out is that I just gave up on watching Disney movies because, like, these past few years they've just been struggling to find something original or new, and like it seemed at first glance that Inside Out was something new, but then I remembered, like, this is a concept, like having inside your brain these little things that control different aspects of your mind. Like that's a concept that has been used before in TV shows, and there was this student who was in an animated school, and he actually made something like this. It was about a 5-minute short, and he made this exact concept, but less complex. And so that was just another reason why I didn't want to watch it, the same concept again. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I can completely see your point. But still, I think if you gave it a chance, you'd be a bit surprised, because it's overall a pretty enjoyable experience.
My getting into the plot thing of Inside Out, I liked Inside Out. I really liked it. I enjoyed it a lot. But, there's a bunch of things I disagree with in a more like mature level, or I don't know whether if it's mature or immature level. But what I thought is, like, are these guys telling kids that it is completely normal to cry about everything, run away from your home, or at least try, and just blame it on your brain? It is not you, it is stuff controlling you that makes you all of this stupid shite. And I mean, that's the only thing I disagree with the movie, because you see Riley, the character, you see her struggling with her feelings, and although that can be considered teenager hormones, which are completely normal, but you see that she goes through this stage on her life where she's confused and she's depressed and she just wants to run away. So I felt like, are they saying that crying is the solution? And that it is okay to run away, as I said before, and
Yeah, I think
that kind of
I
stuff.
think they didn't make it clear enough that Riley was that the emotions were Riley, because they each felt like very separate entities and that were completely their own people, and so it was just kind of I kind of fear for the poor parents who now need to raise their kids who will believe that, oh, I can do whatever I want, I can be whatever person I am because it's just my emotions. I'm not in control, they are. So, I mean, it's sort of schizophrenic.
exactly.
The voices told me to do it.
That's what I was thinking.
Those little voices in my head, they're doing this, I'm not.
Yeah, that's what I was aiming to say. I mean,
She's bipolar.
you see that a big
Yes.
exactly. You see one takeaway from the movie that you should have is that one emotion can't live without the other, right? Like sadness. Not everything can be all joy. Not everything can be all angry. That's the thing. But I felt like the message they were trying to send was that you just can do whatever I want. You can do whatever you want. Blame it on your feelings, like Matthew said, and just like it's what I felt. I felt like they were saying that it is okay to like cry about everything. And honestly, I'm a person who cries a lot. Personally, I am a person who cries a lot, and even so, on that movie, I felt like
They cried too much.
they are being too serious about let your feelings control you. Something like that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that, but you know, from the part of the plot of the movie itself, inside of the brain, and the stuff that triggered everything inside of the brain, I think it had a strong point. It probably didn't manage all that well hearing to these opinions, like, you know, schizophrenia. That's pretty much what happened to Riley. But leaving that aside, all the thought that put into making certain things trigger certain things, and then having some stuff about the brain explained comedic way is what I appreciated the most. So I think this would make my top 5 list still.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I should have put Inside Out in 4th place, but you know, it's still there. It's still going to be on the list, so let's just keep it
Okay.
there.
Matthew, your turn.
Okay, so I'm going to choose another movie that probably none of you saw. In fact, I don't know how many people actually saw it, and that is Macbeth. So if you've seen it, which is very unlikely, have any of you?
No.
Which one?
Macbeth.
No.
Okay, so first off, warning, I have not completely finished the movie. I actually needed to come down and do this podcast before I could finish. However, I've read the play several times, so I know the story. And the movie, I mean, it does a really well job of just adapting the story. I mean, it takes lines from the play. I was reading along for some parts in the play, and you could see the exact lines that they were pulling from. And the directing is amazing, acting is amazing, cinematography really great. I also love Scotland is just beautiful, and the way they film it is really nice. And then the soundtrack is awesome. The battle scenes and the fight scenes are all brutal and they feel realistic. And so unless there's a complete drop in all of that quality in the second half, then this definitely makes my number 3 spot.
Wow, so we got a movie that made it to the top 5 without even having been finished. That must be good.
Yeah. What you were saying that this was a Shakespeare play?
Yes, this is based off of...
Yes, it is. Macbeth.
Oh, yeah. I guess I need to read that then.
It's personally, it's my favorite.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. I've read it, so if you say that it's a faithful adaptation, I'd say that it must be good. But, you know, there's still a chance that I may not like it if I say it. So, yeah, I think you should lend it to me sometime.
You don't need to tell the world that.
Don't mention that in the podcast.
We can bleep it out or something.
Yeah, we will.
Okay, never
Alright,
mind then.
Uh,
I guess I'll go
Yes.
ahead with mine.
Go
Or
ahead.
uh, number
3.
2, is it?
No, 3.
3? All right. Minions. No, I'm just
That was
kidding.
2014.
No, it wasn't.
Oh wow. Okay.
No, that was 2015.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Okay. So number 3, I guess I'll just take a quick pick and say. The. Okay, Spectre, James Bond. Yeah, I will go for that. And if you think I'm just randomly picking these movies, I am. as I
What?
as, except for the first 2 ones, which I really like. As I said before, it's every time I watch a movie, honestly, like from the heart, I can't say this movie was amazing or this movie was a complete pile of whack, because I'm indifferent to most movies. It is true and it is obvious that I like some more than others, but I don't take it too seriously. So like my spot from like the 4th movie can be one that could be in the 100th movie, because I really am indifferent. So I will go for Spectre. I liked it. I feel like the action scenes were great. There were not much of them, because it's particularly not a precisely action movie. It is an action movie, but it has drama on it. It has a good story, and well, I felt like other James Bond movies pay a lot of attention to the shooting stuff. This had more plot to it and more development. That's what I felt.
Okay. I haven't watched the movies, so,
I guess that's fair.
because I need to watch the other James Bond movies.
That's
Of
going
the-
to
of
take
this
you
series.
a while.
No, of this particular
Good luck
series.
with
Okay?
that.
Okay.
Daniel Craig
Yes,
series.
Daniel Craig series.
All right, the only one I didn't watch from that was Casino Royale, I think.
Okay.
That one was pretty good. I haven't seen Quantum of Solace or Spectre.
I don't think I've seen
But-
anything. I'm-
Quantum of Solace was good.
I heard it wasn't that good, so I skipped it, but I may have to check it out at some point.
Well, I thought it was better than Casino Royale anyway.
okay. Is that
So-
all we have for number 3?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, we've all talked about the ones. Yeah, we should move on to the next
Okay,
spot.
let me end your guys' thing in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Okay, guys, let's get to our number 2 spot, and let's see. FlameWolf, why don't you start?
All right, I will start. Now this is easier to pick because it's actually on the ones I like the most, which are easier to pick for me. So I will go for Fantastic Four.
What the
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No!
Oh no, no. I won't go for
Wow.
Fantastic Four.
Wow, I was seriously thinking about punching this guy right now.
Okay, so what is it then?
No, what is it? Bridge of Spies. Bridge of Spies with Tom Hanks.
I honestly didn't see it. I was going to see it because it was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, but I haven't gotten around to it.
Never even heard of it.
Okay, so it is a really good movie. The whole mood, the whole feeling to the movie, it's super tense all the time. You're always trying to like rush things up to see what happens next. You're always expecting to see what happens next. You don't know what's gonna happen next. Sorry for the repeating. But yeah, it is really good because it keeps you tense. It keeps you thinking all the time. And sometimes you put yourself on the character's shoes and you say, "Oh my goodness, I couldn't stand this," or "This is way too much," or it is an intense movie. It is really good, really good.
Okay, so I guess he's done now.
Yeah, I don't have any input on it, so yeah.
Well, it was nominated for
Yeah.
Best Picture, so it must be pretty good.
It must be.
Actually, I heard The Big Short wasn't very good, but
No, never believe in that. Gravity was nominated for an Oscar, and that shouldn't have happened. So don't believe in that kind of
Okay.
stuff.
yeah.
Who wants to go next?
One of you guys, Matthew.
Okay.
Why don't
Okay, so
Oh, of course.
I need to get this on here. Mad Max Fury Road.
for real?
Yes, I
So I'm sorry to interrupt you. I've been hearing a lot of people saying that it was the best movie of the
No.
year. I've watched top tens on YouTube and people saying it was the best movie.
Not.
And now Matthew says it was the second for him. And honestly, I liked it. I liked it. It was really good. It had some pretty good action scenes. But come on, let's be really picky here. Seeing a dude with an intravenous, is that what it's called? Intravenous?
No, in a vial.
Yeah, in a vial. Yeah, he has this thing connected to the other
Tube.
guys, and it's yeah, the tube thing where he just gets blood and stuff. He is connected to the other guy.
Yeah.
They crash in a sandstorm. They crash, and first thing, it is impressive that he doesn't die out of the sandstorm burning him, or the debris of the car flying on him, or getting like under the car or anything. He doesn't. He survives. But taking all of that fictional stuff aside, it was a good movie, but I wouldn't consider it the one of the best.
You guys, we are just like tearing apart the movie before we let Matthew explain why he liked it.
Yeah.
Why don't we just hear him out to keep things fair and square before we start giving away our
Let's
opinions?
go.
It was like Matthew just said Mad Max, and we're all like, what?
okay. So
Well, it's a present
Ah.
Fantastic Four.
Oh no, everybody would have punched you for
Yeah.
Fantastic Four.
All right, so yeah.
I wouldn't judge.
So, I consider Mad Max the modern day Beowulf, in that when you look at it, it doesn't really have an intense plot or, you know, these character developments that you would expect from such a well-received thing, and yet it's something underneath all of that. There's just, like with Beowulf, it's a classic and everyone loves it, and yet if you look at it for its story value, there's almost nothing there. And yet everyone still loves it. And then the same thing with Mad Max, even though there isn't like the most amazing plot you've ever seen, when you dig a little bit deeper, you find this really touching story of these people looking for hope and looking for redemption and looking for home, and then just trying to fight for what they believe in.
Well, basically being free from, Joe.
Also,
But-
I love the fact that the main character in an action movie is a female, because, I mean, they just did so well with breaking down all of the action movie stereotypes, and yeah, that's one other reason that I loved it.
Well,
Yeah, I guess you're right on that. You're right on that note. Yeah, it didn't look at all like many other action movies I have seen. And while Mad Max was a bit of plot, a bit weak on plot and stuff like you mentioned, it was still enjoyable as an action show. I gotta say that my favorite part of Mad Max was the flame-throwing guitar
yeah,
guy.
of course.
Yes.
My thing about the movie was that, there wasn't really that much deep about the plot, but the thing I really like about the movie is just like how well it's shot. Like most of the action scenes, they're actually driving in the desert. Yeah, they're actually driving in the desert with a flame-throwing guitar, and I just thought, yeah, that's actually a really good way to do things, and
It's original. I hadn't seen that anywhere before, and I totally loved it. I mean, it was like this guy who is always looking to what is happening and decides what kind of music to play with his flame-throwing guitar. It was awesome.
Okay.
So yeah, Mad Max, I don't think it made... No, it didn't made it to my top 5 list. And I see that a lot of people are putting it on number 1. I can see why a lot of people like it, because it was like a practical effects miracle.
Yeah.
I like how most of the movie was shot with practical effects, where in an era where most directors rely so strongly on CGI. It was like you had these very few CGI shots in the movie that actually look pretty good. Sometimes when you see practical effects in movies, they don't look all that great, but with Mad Max, that was an exception. If we are talking about the effects, everything looked credible, and it was greatly put together.
I will again argue that the characters also were, even though, you know, they aren't the most complex characters you'll see right on the outside they just look like your stereotypical action heroes. And yet when you dig deeper, you find this history of, you know, some of them have experienced an intense loss. Some of them are looking for hope or redemption or home, and then just the way that it all takes place underneath the surface. And watching it a second time, you catch a lot of the little things, and it really becomes an amazing movie because it can communicate so much without all that much dialogue.
Well, I guess if you really dig between the lines, there's a lot of stuff to be had there, like Furiosa's backstory and stuff. But as much as movie material there is, well, it was really great in a visual level, because there's not that much to analyze for somebody who's not trying to look for what's behind. Sometimes in the movies you are presented with the stuff that the director wants to point out, and the stuff that the people who made the movie thinks that it's important for you to know. But in this case, it was a lot of the action shots, and like you said, most of the times to figure out what's going on behind the scenes, you have to really look into it.
Yeah, well, although Max himself has like 5 lines in the whole movie,
Okay.
that's something I disliked. It was a very... It is true that if you look behind it, there's a lot, but if you're just a random guy who says, let's watch Mad Max because it's an action movie, you just see the action. And while the action is good, you don't see a lot of plot there, really, for someone who isn't digging as deep as you are, Matthew, for example. But if you're, as I said before, if you're someone who is just watching it for fun, there's not much to it.
But I agree that it was a good movie to watch. It didn't make my top 5, and I don't think it would have anyway, but it was still really great.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was good.
just for the moment, you don't feel like you wasted your ticket going to watch that movie.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the thing.
Is that all we have? Is that all we have for that movie?
Yeah, I think there is. We actually had a lot to talk about it in this
Okay.
one, right?
Okay, let's get to mine. Although my movie, it's actually part of an ongoing series. Though this year it did not release in the movies itself. It did air on TV, and FlameWolf, you might know what this is. So my number 2 movie of 2015 is actually Friendship Games.
Friendship Games. I didn't watch that.
Actually, no. I told you not to watch it unless you till we finish watching season 5. So
I haven't watched it either, so I couldn't just tell you about it.
well, yeah. Well, I'm just gonna explain why I like it. Because there's just so much to this. Well, in my way. Although some plot of the movie was not that good for the first half, it was actually really solid second half, where with the songs were actually really good this one, and the last and let's see, the plot twist on the movie was actually really great at the end there, and for that like last fight scene, it actually felt kind of anime-ish, and the entire like background music to it actually fit that description. So, yeah, it has my favorite moment of the entire trilogy. So, that's it.
I feel kind of alone in that I've never seen anything My Little Pony, so
I guess that's just not the part to talk about that.
Oh, I guess the things the things I dislike about the My Little Pony movies so far, meaning the latest Equestria Girls ones, are colored humans. I mean, colored
get
ponies
used to
are
them.
where well,
FlameWolf's a racist.
all right. I mean, colored ponies aren't gonna happen, all right? But they are way more likely to happen than colored humans.
You know,
I
with
mean-
genetic engineering and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you can get a purple pony. There's a thing called body paint, but I don't like. I like the character design. Actually, it looks like a mix between cartoon and anime, as you see it. It doesn't have almost anything of anime, but you can see some slight hints every now and then. And yeah, I just don't like that they put colors in their skins, like colors like yellow and purple. And I mean, I just imagine, and it would be way more pleasant to walk by and see a purple pony than having somebody who's purple say hi to you.
Yeah. Well, which is why the first one of the series I didn't really like that much, because the entire concept of the colored people was just brand new to you. But then, you know, after watching two more of them, it actually kind of grows on you. So, yeah.
Oh well, I couldn't really say about that.
So I guess it's your turn.
My turn for number 2, huh? Okay, so is anybody going to hang me if I put Star Wars The Force Awakens in this position?
No.
Everybody's gonna put Star Wars: The Force Awakens in that position.
Well, I guess some people wouldn't, would call it the best movie of the year. But no, actually I'd call it the second best. I really liked The Force Awakens as a comeback from
Yes.
Star Wars. It was really great. When I first saw the trailers for The Force Awakens in the movies, I was like, oh hey, they are doing another Star Wars movie. How's that gonna work? I didn't know what to expect, because honestly, there's such things as the expanded universe and stuff,
Yeah.
but movie-wise, I thought Star Wars was done. I didn't think I'd see a comeback from Star Wars. So when I first was presented with the trailer, I was like, wow, Star Wars, what can they do with this? I was expecting to go see Star Wars and not find a lot of story to it. I was just thinking, well, I don't think there's much they can do with the story for Star Wars, but they probably can do a lot for the special effects. So actually, my reasoning behind when I went to see Star Wars: The Force Awakens, I was more excited about the special effects than whatever the story could throw at me. I was thinking of all those memorable scenes from the previous Star Wars movies, like the dogfights and the Battle of Hoth and stuff like that. And actually, I was really excited to see everything with brand new 2015 special effects. It was a really exciting thought, but as for story, I didn't expect much, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. It had a lot of elements that I didn't expect that made it a really good movie overall, and it was really great. It exceeded my expectations by all means. I'm done now.
Yeah, the reason why me and Matthew have not responded to that, because let's
Let's stop the audio for this right now, and then we can discuss without.
and then let's just discuss our number one of the year. So okay. Oh, we're starting number one, and we had to cut off number two because me and Matthew's number one is both The Force Awakens. Let's just.
So, since we have our talk on that, let's just give our quick. Why is the reason that it's number one for you? Just one quick thing.
One quick thing.
like a sentence.
It's Star Wars.
Okay.
That's
Yes,
that's
that makes a lot of sense.
oh yeah. Like even though I was really disappointed that the extended universe was no longer canon, I was really pleased to see that everything is now new to me, and I don't know how they were going to go with things, and so. And also, another reason why is that I didn't really hype this movie up at all. I mean, yes, almost every day I actually put the counter of when the new movie came out, and I watched all the trailers except for the TV spots. But for me, I did not actually. I actually told myself to not get excited for this movie because I would ruin it. I would over expect something to happen, and so. That's why I just did not think much of Star Wars Force Awakens until it came out, and so that made the experience a lot better for me. And, yeah.
I guess that also explains why I had such a good time watching it, because like I said, my expectations were not very high, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Well, I'll go quickly. First off, my expectations were very high, and I was very, very pleased with it. And so, that's always the mark of a great movie for me. And just the quick sentence of why I like it isn't just that it's Star Wars, but that Star Wars is back.
Yeah.
And so that was my thought. Throughout like the whole movie, there would just be scenes where I would think, okay, Star Wars is back, and this is the scene that proves it. And even more than the prequels ever said it, Star Wars is back.
You see, what I liked about The Force Awakens the most is probably the dogfights. Like, you see, on the other ones, you sometimes, the biggest one you ever saw was on the Death Star, and I think you saw 4 TIE fighters against 4 X-Wings, or something like that, on the Death Star. But on this one, you see scenes with like 20 on 20 and just these massive wars and the battles, and I like that.
For me, it's like I just can never hate Star Wars. Like that's just my problem, and my problem really goes really deep. The fact is, like, I do not hate the holiday special. I actually like it.
Huh.
I watched it twice. Matthew here just could not even watch 15 minutes of it. That was.
Well, I guess I'm in some point in the middle. It was an interesting experience, that much I'll say.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so shall we go on to the other top movies?
Yeah.
I think Fenrir has to say his first one.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is where stuff gets kind of embarrassing, because actually my top movie for 2015 is Bridge of Spies. So it gets kind of embarrassing. Like when FlameWolf brought it up, I was like, okay, wow. But still, I can't just switch it up like that. I got to say that Bridge of Spies was a really great Tom Hanks movie. It was very interesting in the fact that like FlameWolf said, it kept you looking and thinking about what was coming next, and it placed yourself in such situations that, well, they were first very interesting, and second of all, since it's a movie based off of real stuff that actually happened, you can see how the tension would have been for the character at any given time. So when there are these, it's basically a movie about negotiations, let's call it that, because it's a movie, for those who haven't watched it yet, it's a movie set in the Cold War. So basically, the United States have captured a Russian spy, but the Russians have captured a North American spy. So basically, Tom Hanks is a lawyer who has to negotiate the truce to get both their people back.
Okay.
You know, it's that kind of thing. And it's very interesting because it isn't an action-packed film. You don't get any shootouts and or stuff, but it does get you very invested in this story. And Tom Hanks' performance is pretty awesome. Yeah. I gotta say that if I had to recommend a movie this year, that would be The Force Awakens, because it's a Star Wars, and Bridge of Spies. That was one of the best things to come out of 2015 for me.
Okay.
Yeah, on Bridge of Spies thing, it was really intense. Well, I already explained it on the second one because, yeah, as I said, it is easier for me to pick my top ones, the really, really top ones, like the first one to the third one. And the second one, Bridge of Spies, that wasn't a random choice. That was actually through because it was amazing. It was so good.
For those of you who haven't watched it, we really recommend it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
We totally do. You should watch it. You should watch it. It's a pretty serious movie.
I'm
Yes.
sure I'll get into it.
I guess that's what defines it. Serious.
Yeah, it's a very serious movie, and it's a very tense movie, but that's not a bad thing.
Okay. Well, since me and Matthew, there's really nothing we could say about that. FlameWolf, you're number one.
All right. So you can hate me after this.
No.
Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four. No, 50 Shades of Grey. No. No. So yeah. What can I say? I think it is even more embarrassing for me to reveal my top one because everybody said it's bad, but I have some very bad tastes. All right, for movies at least.
Okay, tell us, what is
Just
it?
go on with it.
For me, the movie I enjoyed the most in this year, since I'm indifferent to movies, it was kind of hard, but the one I probably enjoyed the most was Jurassic World.
Okay.
Oh, so we're back to Jurassic World now.
I did. I mean,
I don't hate you. It's like, it makes sense why. It's pretty
Yeah,
well
I
done
mean,
movie, but it's just...
it has its stupid stuff. But
yeah.
as I told you, and I keep repeating all the time, I don't take movies too seriously. But on Jurassic World, I saw it and I was like, wow, this is so cool.
Yeah, it is a fun movie. It's just... It's... Because me, I grew up with Jurassic Park before I even knew about Star Wars. And so... Me, I'm just very biased and, like, there's nothing you could change about my biasness, so...
Not really Jurassic Park, but I grew up with dinosaurs. I mean, my thing when I was a kid was airplanes and dinosaurs, like airplanes like every kid, and dinosaurs. I mean, I had a heck load of dinosaur books. I read them all the time. I knew each scientific name of dinosaurs. So not even on the plot, just seeing them in action. I mean, seeing the raptors joining the T-Rex to destroy the genetic abnormality. It's like wow, just wow.
Indominus.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. That. And I mean, I enjoyed it.
I will,
Yeah, well,
since I haven't
can-
said anything on this, I would like to say I hadn't seen Jurassic Park before I saw Jurassic World, and I really enjoyed Jurassic World. It didn't make my top 5 because I think a lot of people would be mad if I put it there having not seen Jurassic Park before Jurassic World. But just like, even just the experience of going in the theater with all of the people in anticipation or, laughing and all of those kinds of things, it was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it was. And then you did see Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I did see Jurassic Park later.
Yeah, and we nitpicked the entire time, and so it was fun.
Yeah, it was great. Also, even though it didn't make it on the list, this movie I'm about to mention was pretty close, so I think it needs a shout out. Would it be the time to
let's
say
do-
it right
Actually,
now?
no. Let's just
Or later.
keep it on this one recording because we actually didn't record that long for this one, so we're not going to
Okay.
talk that long about it.
So let's do official honorable mentions, and for this to keep it a little bit shorter so we can get more movies in here, maybe 1 or 2 sentences of why you like it, and if there's another opinion, they can have 1 or 2 sentences as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so how many honorable mentions is one person entitled for?
Until we
One.
run out of things
Well,
to say.
let's see.
Well, I wanted to give a shout out, honorable mention to the Scorched Trails.
Oh yes, definitely.
Don't know what that is.
The Scorch Trials?
Oh!
That one was actually competing on my list with Mockingjay
Okay.
Part 2 to get on.
Okay.
Yes, and it was certainly an option for me too, because that movie was very enjoyable, and I liked the action, and I actually liked the little bits of plot they put in there, and also the ending and stuff. It was overall a pretty good experience, and I'm saying that from the point of view of someone who has not read the Maze Runner books. Because, I've read the books to some franchises, but you can only read so much. And, well, basically, The Scorched Trails, I thought it was a very good movie in that the scenery was nice. Like you said, for The Martian, I liked the scenery in The Scorched Trails. It was good. For those few big establishing shots, because, most of it was, like, indoors and stuff. But when they were... A nitpick that I always had is that, the guy who just survives a thunder coming down on him. Like, he
Yeah.
survives being struck by lightning and stuff. So I was like, well, that's odd and stuff. But other than that, I actually think that it was a great movie experience overall. Because it had little bits of everything. It didn't excel at anything especially, but it did have very good little bits of a lot of stuff. So it did make up for a very good experience as a whole.
Okay. I'm not gonna have a rebuttal to that. So, any more honorable mentions?
I have quite a few. I'll let some other people go unless they don't have any.
Yeah, just go ahead.
Just,
Okay. So, for my first honorable mention, I'm going to do one that I think Macbeth kicked it off the list, sort of. And that was Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. Did any of you see that one?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, I saw it on the airplane. I had read the book, and on an airplane ride, it was one of the choices, and I was very glad that I watched it because it's like the better version of The Fault in Our Stars. The teenagers actually feel like teenagers, not old people pretending to be teenagers. The dialogue is believable. There isn't a romance, and I have nothing against romance, but
Sometimes it's forced
yeah.
on.
okay.
Overall it was really, really well made. It was hilarious, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think in my honorable mentions was the second Divergent, meaning Insurgent.
Oh, yes.
Wait,
I really liked
wasn't that last year though?
No.
Oh. Okay.
Was that not last year? I thought
No,
it was last year.
Divergent was last year.
Yeah, Divergent. Wait, what? No. Wait?
Divergent was last year. This year was Insurgent.
When this year was?
No, wait.
It was early
We're
this
in
year.
2000
It was
We're in
or-
2016, mate.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so yeah, I think Divergent was 2014 and Insurgent was 2015,
Oh,
I believe.
okay.
So yeah, Insurgent, I mean, on one of the last sequence when like you see bits of buildings flying all over and stuff floating and and it's like this kind of dream simulation stuff. That was super epic. I mean,
The special effects.
yeah, the special
Oh, yeah.
effects. I mean, I was just, as always, putting myself in the character, and I was like, wow, you could do such great parkour here.
I honestly forgot about that movie for a bit. What I love about it is how it's trying to distinguish itself from the Hunger Games. So there
Yeah,
were a
that-
few scenes like you can tell that it's taking a very different direction, and one of them for me was when one character shoots another character and it's completely out of the blue. You don't expect it. It isn't it's like very strange even for most movies, especially these young adult movies, and it was like dark and serious, and it really distinguished itself from the Hunger Games in that one movie.
That's precisely what I loved about the Insurgent. That on Divergent, you see the teenagers going against the evil grown-ups and the government and not wanting their laws and fighting against the government and everything. And it was practically the same except with the actual games.
Okay.
But on Insurgent, you actually see the difference. You actually see that that is the point where they split apart. Like Matthew said, it is where you see the change from the Hunger Games.
Okay, my honorable mention this year, which I only have one, is Ant-Man, which it was on my list until I kicked it off for the friendship games. um, the thing about Ant-Man was that I expected it to not be that great of a movie, and so it just exceeded my expectation of it, and so that's why I kind of liked it. So
On the other
Yeah,
hand,
it was a pretty good movie.
I like the Marvel style. Like my brother said when he mentioned the Age of Ultron, um, that comedy mixed with action, it was so good on Ant-Man.
Yeah.
It was.
it was.
That's because Ant-Man is such an easy superhero to make fun of.
Okay.
okay, I'll briefly give my opinion. I also saw this one on the same airplane as Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, and I really didn't like it. I had high expectations for it as a Marvel movie, and it wasn't especially funny. I don't think it wasn't, amazing. I wasn't really all that impressed by it. Now that being said, I'm a big Edgar Wright fan, so the fact that he was kicked off may have something to do with that. So I may be a bit biased, but I honestly didn't really like it.
Okay.
Well, that's fair enough.
Any more honorable mentions?
I have quite a few more.
Oh, just list them out. Okay.
Well, I'll give my thoughts on
Each,
them
okay.
briefly. Okay, another honorable mention. The Duff. I recently saw that this weekend. Actually, I don't know if anyone's heard of it, but it's a teenage movie, a comedy type thing, and it was well made, very modern.
Yeah, no, haven't watched it, mate.
Has anyone heard of it?
No.
No.
So here's where I get into all of the movies that no one else has heard of. Let me think. Does anyone else have an honorable mention while I think of other ones?
I have a bad honorable mention, actually, but I think that's for later.
Well, you can bring it up right now.
Yeah.
I just want to be brief. I am really sad that there is no spot in the greatest movies of 2015 for one of the movies that I expected the most personally, and that was Terminator Genesis.
Oh, no. No.
Yes, I was very disappointed by that movie. I mean, you're doing something wrong with your Terminator movie if you have to kill John Connor to save the future.
The only thing I actually liked about that one is just because Matt Smith was in it.
Yes, it was a movie I was actually very hyped about, and I ended up with what felt like a kick in the nuts.
Yeah.
What I liked about it was the concept that, trying to kill John Connor isn't working, so let's get him into Skynet instead. I kind of like that, but the rest of it was...
And it had these huge plot holes that nobody cared to explain.
Yeah. Hold on.
Like who sent the Terminator to protect Sarah Connor when she was younger anyway? That didn't get explained at all. Of course that data got erased. That's so convenient for the screenwriter.
I'm trying to think of the logic behind that. Okay, so we can't kill John Connor. Why don't we capture him and turn him into a Terminator?
Okay.
Well, that's computers for you.
So here's an honorable mention we've talked about, but I'll just throw it out there. We don't necessarily need to say much because we've already said a few things, but Mission Impossible Rogue Nation.
Oh yeah, of course that one.
That was good. Yeah, that was
It
good.
was nice.
Okay, next.
And there's one other one
Ooh,
that I was. You probably also haven't heard of this one, but I was pleasantly surprised. A friend told me to watch this, as a joke, thinking that I wouldn't like it, but actually I was pleasantly surprised with how good it was, and that is, let me think of the title, it's kind of complicated. Naomi and Eli's No Kiss List. So
No, I haven't heard of it.
So just by the title, you could tell
Ah.
it doesn't sound that great.
No.
But if you give it a chance, it's actually on Netflix, and it was pretty good. I thought the acting is pretty good, the plot was good, the characters were well done. If you aren't expecting very much, it was a very well-made movie.
Next.
Alright, so I guess we have to go for the worst one, right?
Well, I have to. Do you want to say any more honorable mentions? Or are you done?
Let me think.
Well, I know I'm done.
I'm done, I think, yeah.
Okay, let me end your guys' recording right here for the moment. 12. Okay, now let's get to the worst movie of 2015 in our opinions.
Who starts?
Why don't you start, GPO?
Okay. Oh. It's the worst movie for me and also the biggest disappointment of the entire history. Fantastic Four.
Yes, that's mine too.
Oh, that's not mine.
Fantastic Four, it was just so much build up to nothing.
Like the first half was pretty decent, and then they actually get to the Planet X or something like that, and then it just falls apart. They completely skip the entire time where they try to train their control their powers, and then we have this sudden doom that this guy's a bad guy. Oh, and suddenly he's gone. The end of the movie right there. Let's go.
Yes, it was bad. It was so bad. I mean, when I knew that this time Marvel was actually involved, I was actually looking forward to the Fantastic Four.
Wait, what?
Or like when they, how Marvel was actually involved with the making of that one too.
Were they?
Yes, they were.
They're involved with
But
not
except
Disney, but Marvel.
Okay.
Marvel, yeah. So I thought that, hey, if they managed to do and sell so many other movies that are pretty decent, perhaps they can bring back the Fantastic Four and make it awesome.
It was so
I said,
bad that Stan Lee didn't even cameo in it.
I feel so bad. I haven't seen the movie, and I probably won't because I've heard how bad it is. But I feel so bad for Josh Trank, who directed it, because he did an amazing job on Chronicle, and this movie
Chronicle was so good.
This movie may ruin his reputation, even though he has come out publicly and disowned the movie and said that the studio interfered.
Oh yeah, he had such a great plan for it, is what I heard, and like he wasn't allowed to use it.
Yeah, that we can just both talk about that one in this spot, because that's actually my most disappointing movie. You know how Terminator Genesis was very disappointing too,
yeah.
but it had nothing to compare itself like to Fantastic Four. That one takes the cake to the most disappointing movie. Yes.
Well, Doctor Doom was a sham.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It was so bad. It was so bad. I mean, I don't take it as the worst movie ever because, well, they will call me racist.
What?
I mean, the Human Torch is black.
Actually, yeah, I did have concerns about that. It's like, okay, a black guy going on fire, and you know how if you have something, it eventually becomes black when you burn it, and so...
No.
That was my concerns about like what people would react to it. So
That's so wrong. No, but I mean, I slightly enjoyed parts of it, like almost nothing, but there are some parts that good CGI, but
somewhat, yeah.
Somewhat, yeah, but the movie
I mean,
itself...
what I really liked was the elastic guy suit, like that suit with springs on it. It was super cool, but the rest of it was so bad. What I would say was the worst movie was Jupiter Ascending.
Oh, I watched like 20 minutes of it, again on an airplane. I watch a lot of movies on airplanes, and it was so bad I just turned it off and chose a different...
You know, what actually hurts me the most of saying that Jupiter Ascending was so bad was that I went to see it with a bunch of friends, and actually Corel, another user, Corel,
yeah,
he said he enjoyed it a lot. And
Wow.
Well, Corel said he enjoyed it, and
Oh.
That hurt me. That hurts me right where I live. And
But actually, I really enjoyed Jupiter Ascending way more than Fantastic Four.
yeah, I mean, it had some great takeaways. Like, I honestly seeing the trailers, and they actually came with a long way before the movie. That there was a lot of waiting. With the trailers, I thought it would be another type of Star Wars. You saw all these
Oh,
spaceships,
crap.
and you saw the planets. You saw
Oh, that came out
space
this year.
fire
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But on the movie, there is one or two scenes, like the scene where the base in Jupiter explodes at the very end, and the scene where they are trying to prevent the wedding. That those were the only two action parts, and the rest of it was just talking and stupid stuff.
Yeah.
I feel really bad for a lot of these directors, but I feel so bad for the Wachowskis because many people feel they haven't made a good movie since The Matrix. I would argue that Cloud Atlas is a really great movie, but they're starting to lose their popularity, and it must hurt them a little bit to see their visions, taken down.
Well, if it
I mean-
hurts them, why don't they stop?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I was hurt too watching the movie, so it's only fair that.
Okay, guys. We have a last-minute honorable mention. I completely forgot that was this year. Tomorrowland.
I didn't watch Tomorrowland.
I didn't enjoy it specifically. However, I love the interactions between the three main characters, specifically the two girls. And the older girl and George Clooney, because the romance between George Clooney and the 12-year-old girl was extremely awkward.
Yeah.
Bordering on just pedophilia. And there was a scene where I was leaning into the screen saying, "George Clooney, don't kiss the girl. Don't kiss the girl."
I know she's about to die, but don't kiss her.
But just throughout the movie, the dialogue between them, you could really feel. There was one scene where they're walking into a room, and there are different reactions. You can see their characters in their reactions, and the dialogue between them was really amazing. The relationships, besides the romantic one between George Clooney and the 12-year-old girl, they were all amazing.
Wow, now I'm not sure I want to watch it.
Oh no, I liked it because it was an original idea. That's why I liked it. So, Matthew.
Okay, this one has been talked about before, and my worst movie was Crimson Peak. Now, I know that was someone's favorite movie, and I do really respect what it did. It had amazing sets, really great cinematography, great directing. The ghosts looked pretty good. However, it really fell apart for me. I was expecting a horror movie, and when I got a romance, I have nothing against romance. Two of my honorable mentions were romantic movies, but just the fact that I went in expecting to be scared and went out with having seen a romantic movie was
It's like Pearl Harbor.
It was extremely disappointing. Yes, kind of like Pearl Harbor, even though there was a little bit more payoff here with the very, very well done and very creepy mansion.
Yeah.
Well, it has the very creepy mansion. It has this weird stuff like the mansion bleeds and stuff. But, I wouldn't honestly take it as... hold on a second, please.
Well, he died. What happened to Flame? Our wolf is gone. He did something. He's still on, but he's not there. Well, let's talk socially. Socially for.
All right. Oh, we're
Okay.
back. So yeah.
Hold on a little bit. I gotta go for a second. Hold on.
He's gotta go. For a second. I'll just keep
Yeah.
talking. Crimson Peak was a romantic movie, yes. But you see, there's a lot of stuff behind it, and that's what I thought. Unlike Mad Max, which is a purely action movie, and Matthew said you have to dig deeper to actually get its sense and stuff. I felt like Mad Max was an action movie, while Crimson Peak had had a lot of suspense to it, and it had a backstory. It had. I'm not saying Mad Max didn't have it, but I'm saying that it was easier to try to focus on that kind of stuff on Crimson Peak, because you see what's happening to the characters, and you are like, oh, whoa, what's up with that? And you start thinking, what can this mean? What is this all about? And well, while it was a romantic movie, I think it had a lot of stuff behind it.
For me, honestly, this was really the first specifically horror movie that I saw, and so I was very disappointed when it wasn't a horror movie. So, sort of that's my main thing. Oh, a big thing with movies for me is expectation. So, for example, Ant-Man. The main reason I didn't like it was because everyone said it's the best movie of all time, and yet it really failed to meet those expectations for me. So I think if I had gone in with different expectations, I would have enjoyed it more.
Yeah. Probably. Honestly, I didn't think it would be a horror movie, and I still, after watching it, I don't think it was a horror movie. I think it was just suspense, but then maybe suspense in an other way, a different way, which other movies haven't done before, and that's what I thought about it. But you have to admit, man, that Crimson Peak have some really nice headshots in it.
Actually, that's another one of my problems with it. It's rated R, and yet it doesn't really feel like it should have been rated R. I mean, it felt like the death scenes were in there for, shock value, and not really for any purpose, and they really could have been cut back and made a little less bloody for the sake of, getting a PG-13 and expanding their audience. And also the sex scene was like, I didn't watch it completely, I actually skipped most of it, but even like the tiny bit I watched was like disappointing. It's like I'm watching an R-rated movie, and yet there's like nothing there.
Yeah, that's true.
Is that all we have for worst movie?
I believe so. Yeah, you already thought about Fantastic Four: Jupiter Ascending and Crimson Peak.
Okay. No, I'll cut your thing off right now. Okay, now guys, now we are gonna get to our most anticipated movie of 2016, and let's get Fenrir to go.
Okay, so after what I've heard during this podcast about Marvel movies, you already know where I'm going at with this.
Yeah.
But I am kind of expecting that you probably won't agree with this one. But one of the movies I wait the most for this year is Captain America: Civil War.
Oh, I expected it to be really good too. It just suffered because of Avengers.
Yes. But actually, being a rather decent follower of the comics myself, because whenever I watch one of these Marvel movies, I'm not one of those people who are like completely obsessed and collect all the comics and stuff, but I always try to keep myself informed as to what the events are and read my occasional comic on the web from here and there. So I have a lot of knowledge from that, and actually I am very excited because the Civil War is one of the most important points for the entire Marvel universe. So
Yeah,
it
it
has
is.
a lot of big stuff that happens in it. And we also get to see a lot of characters in this movie as well. So it starts feeling kind of like a semi-Avengers movie.
Okay.
But other than that, I'm very excited to see how they can adapt this legendary Marvel comic that is Civil War amidst the Marvel comic fans, and actually see it brought to the screen. And with that awesome trailer we got just recently, well, not recently, it was a bit ago, but when I first saw that trailer, I couldn't help but squeal in excitement. That was really great, and it totally hyped me up for the movie to come this year.
I had the opposite reaction to the trailer. I was just like, well, it's another superhero movie. Hooray
Yes.
for that. And that was
I
sarcastic,
can't
by the way.
imagine that.
Okay. FlameWolf. How about yours?
All right, so I'm in a conflict between two of them. Um, the first one would be Deadpool because I was never much into Deadpool, but my sister is, and she kind of showed me and my brother like about Deadpool and stuff, kind of. Well, I looked up Deadpool and I saw some cartoons some Marvel cartoons where he appeared, and he seemed cool. So I think Deadpool will be pretty nice. It doesn't seem like the typical superhero movie.
Yeah.
Though I'm afraid that they will take that quote, "This is not a typical superhero movie," too seriously, and they end up doing something wrong. And the other one, probably the one I expect the most, and you can actually hate me about this. Screw Captain America. I'm a furry. I'm expecting for Zootopia. Oh my goodness, I wanna watch that.
I want to watch it too.
Huh.
It seems interesting.
Yeah, it seems interesting. I really want to watch that one too, but it definitely hasn't hyped me up as much as
It
Civil
hypes
War.
me. It hypes me just to because okay, so I'm a furry,
Yeah.
but I don't take Zootopia as a furry movie. All right, it's just a Disney movie like Monsters Inc. Like I don't know if Monsters Inc. is
That's a
Disney or
Pixar movie.
whatever. I don't know. It's it's a 3D animated movie. All right, like
Yeah.
any other. Furries, the furry fandom are saying like, "Oh my god, they are doing stuff for furries. They recognize that." And no, I disagree with that. It is not a movie explicitly for furries. It's an animated movie. But even so, I mean the character design, which I pay attention a lot lately. I pay a lot of attention lately to character design in all movies, whether animated or not. And the characters seem really bright, really nice. They have cool designs. They look good. About the plot, I'm not so sure, but I guess we'll have to find out when it comes out, right? But yeah, it's probably the movie I expect the most.
Yeah. I can totally see why you would think that. Okay. My turn. For me, I was sort of torn apart about which one, because I have two of them, but, as much as I love my Star Wars Rogue One, the fact is, I don't know anything about it. Well, that, I don't really know much. There hasn't been any trailers coming in, but since at the moment, I am just really hyped up about it. I would think my most anticipated movie of this year, since I know a lot about it, would be the Batman vs Superman movie, Dawn of Justice.
Oh yeah.
That seemed like a really good one.
I, hmm,
Well, people just keep complaining about the actor. I don't know what's his name
Ben
now.
Affleck.
Ben Affleck that plays Batman, and people are saying that it doesn't suit him or anything. Honestly, he has a pretty serious poker face. I think that fits Batman a lot, and though I don't see why people would say that it is a bad thing to have him inside the
Well, just
the Bat character.
because most of his movies have been like catastrophes, like Pearl Harbor and Daredevil. It's just
And another reason is that with Batman, he's kind of like Bond or Doctor Who. Everyone has their favorite, and everyone after their favorite is just, it doesn't feel like it's right. So for me, my favorite was Christian Bale, and
me was Kevin Conroy.
every other Batman I've seen was like not Batman, and just someone trying to do what Christian Bale did. Even the people who came before him. So
that happens sometimes. But actually, the problem with Batman versus Superman is that I can't really get hyped up for it after Man of Steel.
Oh, like forget Man of Steel. Like the reason why I'm hyped, yeah, I'm just hyped up for it because they're just taking a lot of aspects from the Frank Miller Batman, which. Yeah, I love how they're doing that, but I also don't like that they're just taking away aspects and not actually having the storyline. Which, yeah, don't lecture me again about that.
I won't. Don't.
and not for the same movie, at least not for the same movie. But yeah, I'm just more hyped up for the how they're going to portray Batman versus Superman, because I just, although I love Batman, I really think that he's just going to get his butt given to him in this movie, but he's just going to keep fighting back. That's what I love to anticipate. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess that makes for a big story, and I'm going to watch the movie anyway, so yeah, I really want to see how it goes. But all I'm saying is that after I saw Man of Steel, I couldn't really get hyped up for
I
Batman
don't.
versus
I don't
Superman.
like.
forget
emo
about
Superman.
It was hard.
Emo Superman
was
isn't
hard.
that great. I mean, I've said about Man of Steel, I like my Batman movies to be dark, and I like my Superman movies to be light. And Man of
Yes.
Steel tried to be too dark, and I think it doesn't fit the character all that well.
Yeah. Well, you can go.
Okay, I have a lot of anticipated movies of the year, so I'll just name drop a few. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Oh yeah.
The Untitled New Bourne film. Alice in Wonderland
cool.
Through the Looking Glass. London Has Fallen. The Huntsman.
Oh, I see.
Rogue One, Suicide Squad, and Finding Dory, X-Men Apocalypse, but right now probably my most anticipated movie is actually Hail Caesar, which is it's a Coen Brothers film, and I really enjoyed True Grit. I haven't seen any of their other movies. I'm trying to find a way to see Fargo, but the trailer looks awesome. I love a lot of the actors in there. They're all really great, and it just looks like a really fun time at the movies.
Yeah, it hopefully will be a good year for movies.
Yeah, honestly,
2016.
from what I've seen, this will be a pretty good year for movies.
Oh,
From what I've seen, I mean, probably some movies will turn out to be a pile of whatever's. I don't know.
2016 and 2018, I believe, were just my bigger anticipated years.
Because of Star Wars.
Well, yeah, but no, yeah, kind of like that. So actually, Star Wars Episode 8, I believe they changed their release date just because the new Pirates of the Caribbean is coming out that same time.
Okay.
You know what I was also looking for? The Assassin's Creed movie.
Oh,
was supposed to come out
yes,
in
that
December.
This is why you should watch Macbeth if you haven't. The same director and the same lead actors are in Assassin's Creed. So, yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it will be about. I mean, there are so many Assassin's Creed games. I've played a bunch of them. I've played. I won't name them all because it doesn't concern this conversation.
No.
But yeah, I've played a bunch of Assassin's Creed games, and I've enjoyed them really. I have instead of one of them, but I mean, just one of them. It really sucked. But the rest of them are really nice. And honestly,
which one
I've learned
sucked?
more. Honestly, I've learned more about history on Assassin's Creed than in class. But I mean, everybody says
well, you can't exactly be sure that the story presented to you in Assassin's Creed is
Because they did explain in the first
know-
one that history changes, because that the history in the game is different from the actual history, and so.
I know, but they have a bunch of, like, for example, these political figures, and they actually have their biographies inside the game. And sometimes that is really nice. And I'm not a guy who reads stuff in video games unless it truly concerns the story. But on Assassin's Creed, I've checked profiles of like these important guys, and it is really nice. So yeah, I was expecting for the movie because I don't know what they will make out of it. I don't know whether that's good or bad, but
Hold on, wait.
they can make so much out of it. Like there's a whole bunch of games, whole bunch of different stories in Assassin's Creed.
And I believe this year the Five Nights at Freddy's movies is coming out.
I think so.
I
Let
don't
me
know
look that
about the
up.
release date of that one.
I'm really excited for that because I'm really interested to see how Scott will incorporate that into his series, and so he's really good at lore.
Yeah, that would certainly be interested. That's something I would really be interested in. Yeah.
And like, I just love to see how game theory is just gonna be on pain to get the lore.
Yes, that would be so cool.
Okay, I'm not really finding any reliable information about it, but I would not be surprised if it is being made into a movie to be released sometime soon.
I mean, there is gonna be a movie. It's just Scott likes to he said he gives you a release date, and then he will actually release the game like 2 days after he releases the release date, and so it's just he doesn't really give you an actual date.
Here's
Yeah.
another honorable mention that I would like to throw out there. Speaking of releasing, just sudden movie trailers and stuff, 10 Cloverfield Lane. If any of you have heard of it or seen the trailer yet.
Okay, I need to ask you a question.
Yes?
Is it continuing from Cloverfield the movie?
Maybe. I think one of the things, it may be a continuation, it may also be something like the Twilight Zone where they aren't connected and yet they're still in the
Okay.
same universe. I've never seen the first Cloverfield, but I'm excited for this next one. I mean, the trailer was just spectacular.
So it's like Star Trek, a different universe, but it's actually a reboot, but almost in the same universe.
I have no idea.
Because the original Star Trek, it's a different universe compared to the new one, but they're connected. So
I don't know. I think they're connected in name only if they're connected.
actually, they actually are connected because they have the original.
No,
Spock.
I mean not the Star Trek, but the
Oh.
Cloverfield stuff. I'm thinking if it's probably a thing like the Twilight Zone.
Okay.
Oh, perhaps. Hey, wasn't Independence Day also coming out this year?
Oh yeah.
The second one.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what to think about it because it's like I really think they should stop
I don't think-
making sequels to movies they made so long ago, and so.
Why?
Yeah,
I mean, Star
Yeah,
Wars was
well,
great.
that was pretty much a similar idea to what I had when I first went to see Star Wars. So I'm hoping I will be surprised with this one too.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, I have no idea how can they make a sequel. If you saw the trailer, I think there were these big spaceship battles and stuff, and it looks way more sci-fi than it was on the first one. I mean, the first one, of course, it was sci-fi. It had this big spaceship, it had aliens and stuff, but you had they combat it with regular Earthlink planes and
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But on this one, you see laser fights and all of that. And honestly, Independence Day is a movie that I never thought would
get a sequel.
Would get a sequel, and it doesn't have the need for a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly.
Well, I believe that's all we have for this week's podcast. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
thank you guys for joining us, and then thank the audience for probably the two people to watch this.
Two people that actually watch this.
Yeah.
And hopefully they are hearing this because probably two people will watch it.
Yeah.
And out of those, none will watch it completely.
Yeah.
So-
Well, then thank you for watching, and join us on the next one, which is, I believe, going to be Batman versus Superman in the big group podcast, and so
We may discuss also Suicide Squad.
yeah, that is part of that thing.
Two movies I have no idea of,
Okay,
not like anything.
that's okay. Well, let's just say our goodbyes.
Bye.
Bye. Hey,
See you.
thank you for watching.
And we'll
Subscribe,
see you all.
Please. We beg for subscribers here.
Don't advertise. Thank you guys. That's my job, FlameWolf. I advertise you. You don't need to advertise yourself. Okay.
Yes, of course.
Well, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all. We'll see you all next time.
Goodbye. Thank you.